Hey guys, it's Peggy at Headshots by Peggy, and today we're back with John SWANBECK, and he's going to be hanging out with us once a month from now on. I think what you do when you teach classes to actors. You're a director, an actor yourself, and you just have a different outlook on this industry than some people do, I feel.
Yes, I think I have a very unique outlook or perspective on it. It's interesting when you say teacher or director. The way I look at it is I direct, but I'm not a director.
Mm-hmm.
I teach, but I'm not a teacher. I write, but I'm not a writer. What I do is explore cinematic power, a term I think I coined, although I don't know if you could say coined if you're the only one using it.
We'll hashtag it, we'll make it a thing.
I explore cinematic power and human behavior in the camera frame, and then I communicate what I discover. I'm a communicator.
Uh-huh.
That's really how I see myself, and I sometimes my directing comes into play, sometimes my writing comes into play, sometimes my teaching comes into play, and I do have classes, for actors, but that's really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to empower people, and I use the frame to do that. It's a lot of what I try to do is just empower human beings.
Yeah.
And communicate.
And people that are in this industry, the average person doesn't realize what an actor goes through. I know, I'll tell a funny family story. My mother called and she says, well, is Merrick working? And I said, oh yeah, he's been auditioning a lot. She goes, yeah, but is he working? Which is a typical family thing to say. And I was like, well, yeah, he's auditioning every day. That's what actors do for work.
Mm-hmm.
I said, what you're asking is he getting paid? And that's none of your business. But
I don't envy I don't envy.
Yeah.
They're very courageous in a way. I mean, we're all doing what we do. We're all a little foolish or courageous, depending on the day or how you look at it. They're really courageous to live that life, to get up every day, to be passionate, committed, work really hard, juggle everything they've got to juggle. They have to juggle just to get in the room, get some kind of acknowledgement or attention or feedback or move forward.
mm-hmm.
What they have to juggle, I don't know if I could do it. I really don't. What they have to juggle every day just to.
But
create their
I
art.
think that's the thing that people don't realize is it's people like you that are there to help them keep their balance while they're juggling. Because sometimes they get a little off balance and things look like nothing's working, and all it is just that little, oh, lean this way, oh, do this, oh, it's those little tweaks. I've been a professional photographer for lots and lots of years, and that's the one thing that it's so obvious to me, because the difference between this and this, just those little tiny tweaks, and it's like that. And I do that in the camera lens, but you do that in life. Like, okay, this is how you need to, I do it, small, and you do it big. Like, you show them those little things, and when you do it on camera so they can see the difference. So you kind of show them how to not act, but how to present themselves and tell their story through the lens of the camera.
Right. A way to put it is I show them I teach them how to come across as though they live on camera.
Yeah.
As though that is just their world.
Exactly.
And they own it. And I do very much think about the camera and the aesthetics of the
mm-hmm.
camera. It's not life, and it's an art form. And so I think I have a really good camera eye,
uh-huh.
and I'm very much talking to them about how to use the camera. I'm also talking about how to use their process on camera, how to take the combination of the material and their process and the aesthetics of the film frame
mm-hmm.
to create that art.
Yeah.
So it's I think on a number of different levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's important to have people like you to help them keep that balance, because there's so many talented people in this town, And, you know,
It's really true. Well, there's a lot of talented people. There's just a lot of talented
actors, yes.
And I think about this all the time. A lot of really talented actors can fall through the cracks if they don't have everything lined up.
Exactly.
And so that's what I try to do, is get them to understand. I understand you have your process and you're responding to the material, but there are ways to put everything together so that when you're in the frame, you look like you live there, and people cannot stop thinking about you, and they have to have you, versus, could I work with that?
Yeah.
I have to get them to, I have to work with that.
Right.
I have to get them to be real and believable and natural on camera, but then you have to bring the wow factor.
Yeah.
Because the number of actors that someone sees in a day, if they're considering casting someone, you have to be the person we cannot get out of our head when we're lying in bed at night at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to imagine our movie.
Right.
Or trying to go about our day and not think about it, and you keep coming back to us.
Yeah.
And I was in a class yesterday, and the primary, we talked a lot about character the last time, and that's a big one, is they forget to create on camera the way filmmakers, writers, producers, casting people think about the camera. And they want to do their process, they want to respond to the material, they want to be real and connect, and then they want someone to come along and say, oh, I could take that and do blah, 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 and make it work in a movie. And I am trying to say to them, no, you can't, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
The audition is a job interview to see if you can make a film take work. That's what an audition is. So if the director comes along and says, oh, I have this idea about story or history or character or relationship, you can say, I can make it work as a take. Versus, here's all of my wonderful raw material,
and you make
it work as a take.
Exactly.
See, I don't know if I'll remember this, but by the way, my book, How to Steal the Scene and End Up Playing the Lead, comes out in paperback in a few weeks. Hopefully by the time we do this podcast next, it'll be out. I just did the photograph of the back cover. So it's called How to Steal the Scene and End Up Playing the Lead. It's a title I regret. It's not a good title.
Because people think
he's telling us to steal the scene. Of course, I'm not doing that.
Right.
When I wrote it, I wrote it as an ebook.
Uh-huh.
I didn't think it would get the response it's gotten, so that's why I'm turning it into a paperback.
Right.
And I'm very grateful for that, that it's getting a response. But I wrote it to be sort of clever.
Yeah.
And I outsmarted myself, because it's not the kind of title. It's a lot of title people are going to look at it and go, oh, I don't want to learn how to steal the scene. So what I say to people is, they're all, it's a playbook of techniques, and techniques to show you how to create cinematic power on camera. And you can be on a set or in an audition and say, here's my situation, and I spell it out very simple, 1, 2, 3 steps. Here's the situation I'm in, or the material I have, or the character I'm doing, and you can pull this book out of your back pocket and say, oh, here are the 1, 2, 3 steps I can implement now and have an instant result and get what I want.
Yeah.
It's sort of my directing techniques and style put into a form that actors can use.
Yeah.
And where was I going with that? I forget where I was going with that. Anyway, I forget where I was going with that.
That's okay. That's what makes this vlog so fun, is because I take rabbit holes.
Oh yeah,
and dives
it's going to happen all the time. Yeah.
But what would you say? Give us one of your little clever tips, something that they can physically grab hold of right now and start applying and see a difference.
Well, I published this yesterday, and this is I'm writing my second book now with a much better title called How to Direct Actors Like a Pro and Look Like a Genius Doing It, which someone might pick up.
There you
versus How to Steal the Scene and End Up Playing the Lead. Someone's going to say, I don't want that. You do want it. Trust me, you do want it. But I'm sticking to the title because the book's been very good to me, and it's a part of me, and I'm going to move on. And the two are two of a series of 5. And it's the 3 books I'm going to write. I'll finish How to Direct Actors Like a Pro and Look Like a Genius Doing It this year. It should be out this time next year. And then the 3 I want to write after that, of course can't say anything about, but those are the ones I'm really looking forward to
Yeah.
writing. So I published this on social media, Instagram and Facebook, etc. Yesterday or Sunday. That was yesterday.
Yep. Well, for us, not for them.
And here's something you can do very simple to create character on camera, again, like we're talking about. So you play the scene once on camera, and then you watch the take. And then you pick the one moment that you played that's the most vivid moment, the moment that really pops. And then you, what I call cherry pick it out. You go back to the beginning of the scene and you play the entire take, playing every moment the way you played that one moment. Now, I may have just lost half the audience because they're saying, no, we can't just play one thing. You are playing one thing, but you're creating many things. And so you, and I'll explain that in a second, but you explore it once on camera, play it once on camera, watch the take, pick the most vivid moment, and then go back and play every moment that way. And you will instantly create a movie take. And all of the other moments that you created initially will still be there because you created them. And I can easily have a conversation about why I trust their process more than they do, and why the camera trusts their process more than they do. A wonderful process. And then so you will have created a movie take, and it's the primary moment played that makes all of the others work on camera. And if you watch pretty much anything on film or television, you can mute the volume and watch the character, and the character never changes. Despite how many changes the character goes through, the character never changes. The character, the way the world sees the character, which is the way the camera sees the character, which is the way the audience sees the character. Because you're an emotionally complicated human being and a well-trained actor with a wonderful process, that again, I trust more than they do, all of their wonderful moments are going to be there. Their beats, their moments, their transitions, they created them. But you have to play a prime choice. And if you think about it this way, the human spine, or any spine, I guess, is a spinal column. And it's made up of individual vertebrae, all of which look exactly the same. So all I'm doing is saying, take all of these wonderful moments you created, which end up being very general, and somebody needs to come along and say, okay, here, I'm going to give you a really cool direction, and then your process is going to work on camera. But after you've explored the moments and created the moments, if you can pick the primary moment, the most vivid, and lay it in throughout, all of the other moments are going to be there, but they're going to happen along a spine, and that creates character on camera, the way the world sees character.
Right.
And then when the character interacts with the material, the emotionally complicated human being, the process, real spontaneous moments will happen. It never fails. You should try it. It never fails.
Yeah.
And the moments will be real and spontaneous because you will not have had to think about them ahead of time. If you have to think about, here's how I'm going to play this moment, here's how I'm going to do this reaction, here's my line intention for this line,
Right.
then you are you're demonstrating, you're showing us that you're an actor acting. You're showing us your wonderful process. You're saying, here's my wonderful process. That's the art form. I know the actor's process is absolutely not the art form.
Right.
It's something we use to create the art form. I have a process as a director or writer. Everyone has a process. Right. You as a DP, we all have a process. But the job is not to come to the table and put the process in the frame.
Right.
So because they have a wonderful process, real, genuine moments are going to be created. The actor should not create the moments. The character should create the moments. The actor should create the character. And again, we talked about this in the, hold on a second. Is the mic gonna, is that you or me?
It's me, and the mic
Do
won't
not
catch
disturb.
it. It's on.
I tell my classes, I have this rule in my class.
Not vibrate.
No, I have a rule in my class. Your phone goes on do not disturb or off, power down. Airplane mode is not good enough. Mute is not good enough, vibrate. There will be some sound that makes its way through. And I do, in my class, it's a part working set, part class. we're shooting self-tapes, we're shooting takes all through the class, and I
Uh-huh.
fold the class in along the way.
Yeah.
So if I hear the phone vibrate, the mic is going to pick it up. And so I have a rule, if I even hear it vibrate, you have to power it down
Yeah.
and put it on that table for the rest of the 3 hours.
The 3 hours.
It's happened 5 times since I implemented that rule, and 3 of them were me.
That would be.
I powered down my phone and I put it on that table, and it killed me the entire time. But it has to. That's just the rule.
That would be me, because I think when you came, I was like, do you have your phone off? And reminded you, and whose phone disturbed our vlog? It would be mine.
Right.
All right. I'm in timeout, guys.
Power down. Put it over there.
That's fun.
So yeah, I mean, Peggy Warney, you never change the way the world sees you. You go through changes every day.
Right.
You experience a lot of different things every day, but they all happen within this human being. I never change, and we go through changes all the time. So if the actor is just letting their character change depending on the scene and the moment, you haven't created a character. And everything's going to be general and fall apart. That is, we said, a lot of actors, there are a lot of great actors out there. This is the primary reason they fall through the cracks. This is going to sound familiar to anyone who liked the last podcast that we did, your podcast that we did, and a lot of people liked it.
I know. I think you're like the biggest viewed ever.
People really liked it.
Yeah.
I was really happy with it, and I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. And they were very complimentary to you. She's such a great interviewer. She's such a great interviewer.
I talk for a living. What can I say?
They were very complimentary.
Hey, Ellen, if you ever need... No, I'm kidding.
So really, his character is, and it's amazing how much you have to talk them into character, because their process taught them not to create character, to just be real and connect, and everything's going to happen. And so that's that technique I just, the cherry pick technique, is we'll take all of this wonderful process they did, and it's as though somebody came along, a really good director came along and directed the take.
Yeah.
And made it look like a movie take, which is what it's supposed to look like.
Right.
That's the job interview. Can you make a movie take happen? And so that's one technique, and it's very, very simple. Just explained it very quickly. It's a very 1, 2, 3 step process, and you can all of my techniques are how do you take the wonderful active process and turn it into that art form, turn it into a movie take that looks like it has been directed.
Yeah. And that's really important nowadays, because self-tapes are so prevalent. I mean, it used to be a couple of years ago, you'd get one self-tape, and then 6 months later, another self-tape. Now it's like, fairly frequent. You get a self-tape.
It's the way of the world.
Exactly. And if you're the actor that can put a self-tape together that will blow their mind, next to the other actor that's like, bad lighting and, holding a cell phone, all wobbly and everything. Yes, we would like to think that casting directors understand that and can see through that, but casting directors are human. And when they see what they want and it's already there and they don't have to use their imagination, obviously you're going to go to the top of the list.
Right.
So,
any audition.
Yeah.
I think anyone who's watching an audition tape.
Right.
And maybe this is live. I think it's live. It's how I respond. I'm pretty sure it's live. But everything's on tape now.
Right.
So they're looking at the tape, and there are 2 things that go through their mind. Does that person look like they belong on camera, they live on camera? Does it look like they live on camera? Does it look like they can make a film take work? Or are we seeing beats and moments and transitions, and are we seeing their process laid bare?
Right.
That's one of the 2 biggest reasons why they fall through the cracks. And the other thing is, did you create the character? And I was just talking about characters, the way filmmakers think about character. When I talk about this to actors, I kind of say it's kind of a little arrogant of you. Somebody spent all this time creating a character, and you decided that's not what you're going to do. So my joke is, it's as if you've gone in to interview for the job of an accountant, and you've said to them, I just need your help with the math.
But I look good.
I
would look at it.
I understand accounting, and I understand the process of accounting, and I understand,
Right.
and I'm real, and I'm passionate, and I
Right.
just need your help with the math.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're doing. Okay, so here it is, and this is the tough news. Count to 10. When you're done counting to 10, in those 10 seconds, 100,000 more human beings will have said, hey, I want to be an actor. And
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
They're waking up right now, people who have never thought about this. And they're all going to go take the process classes, the wonderful process classes, the wonderful method, the wonderful mindset, the wonderful. They're going to follow this religion, which is kind of their art. They're very, very devoted to it. And because they don't know how to make it work in the frame, all of that's not going to do them any good. It give them wonderful raw material for somebody else to come along and fix it. So I think that I say that to people because you really need to think about this. But it's not as hard as it's actually really simple.
Yeah.
They're just not taught to think that way. And that's what I try to do. I'm saying everything you're doing is wonderful.
Right.
You have all of the elements you need. You just don't know how to use them.
Well, even
on camera.
Exactly. I mean, right now, there's so many medias, there's so many platforms, there's so much of a great need for great actors.
Yes.
But reality is, around 2% of actors can make a living at this. So that's the number I've been told.
Well, I think what happened is, and you can cut out all of this, but I think what happened was film came out 100 and so years ago. And suddenly everyone on the planet could see human beings up on this big screen, and everybody said, I want to be an actor. So there was a rush of people to become an actor as a result of film. And there was an explosion of classes, etc., about the actor's process. And now the digital age has happened.
And so we're in that next floodgate.
And exactly. The digital age has allowed anybody to make anything on camera as long as you can get people to pay attention.
Right.
You can do it anyway, but there's been an explosion of opportunity, and every time there's a new opportunity created, there are countless number of people who want to take advantage of that opportunity. So the digital age has allowed everyone to rise through the ranks, everyone to create something on camera without rising through the ranks, which is wonderful. But because they don't have to rise through the ranks, they don't learn from those who came before them what creates cinematic power, as I call it, on camera. And so everyone's out there looking like they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And they do know what they're doing. So it doesn't mean their projects are any less valid, but they're missing an essential part of the equation. So the digital age exploded, and everyone's a filmmaker, everyone's a writer, everyone's an actor. It just opened the floodgates because the opportunity creates more people who want to take advantage of the opportunity.
In the early 2000s, mid 2000s, everybody was a professional photographer. Same thing, because you could afford a digital camera.
Right.
You weren't having to pay the film and processing, and now all of a sudden it became available, and that's what's happened with media now. It's available.
Yes.
We all have a cell phone.
Yes, we all have the power.
We all have that power.
Right. So,
but what happens if they don't get a foundation? I mean, they miss things, and they think, oh, I'm successful, I'm doing great, this is wonderful, but they don't have those basic things to build and to strengthen that for long term, or to be amazing and powerful. They just get to this good level and they just stay at good, and they never get to great, because if they got one more step, they'd be out of balance and fall.
Or if they took the right one more step, everything would come together.
Yeah, exactly.
And people would say, I have to be a part of that.
Exactly, and that's why it's so important to, learn from the people that are actually know the principles. And, it's great that you can accelerate so fast, but you still need teaching and, look at different, let me see what you have to say. Does that resonate with me? Can that help me? What do you have to say? Can that help me? Obviously you can't just be bouncing everywhere, but you have to be willing to train and learn and sharpen your skills and sharpen your craft
and the right kind of training.
Exactly.
As wonderful as the actor's process is, that's not the training for that medium.
Exactly.
It gives you the ability to be emotionally powerful and real and natural, and it gives you the ability to become the raw material you need in order to create something brilliant, but it does not create something brilliant. Another piece of another sobering comment of mine is the 7 words they've never heard in acting class are, and here's why it works on camera. Because it doesn't. It wasn't designed to.
Right.
It was designed to get, and I think a lot of it, it's interesting, when film came out 100 or so years ago, everybody flooded into the market and people didn't know what they were doing. They were awkward on camera. I mean, you and I are used to being on camera, and we still get nervous when there's something human about the camera goes on, and you know people are going to be watching it. I don't care how comfortable you are on camera. There's a part of you that goes, "Oh my gosh!"
Right.
And so there was this flood of people, and all this. The wonderful actors process was developed to take people who, gosh, they couldn't even come across like a normal human being on camera because they were so freaked out.
Yeah.
And they taught them what they needed to come across as real and believable and connected. And the studio system, which existed for, 70, 80, 90 years, whatever, and that collapsed in the 70s, the studio system put them through a factory, and that's one of the reasons why actors hated it. It's a factory, we don't want that. But the good thing about the studio system was it taught actors, here's how you walk on camera, here's how you talk on camera, here's how you speak on camera, and here's this wonderful active process that you need so that it's an interesting performance as well as you're just sitting still on camera. The studio system collapsed in the 70s. And all of the classes that the studio system used to put actors through to teach them how to look like they belong on camera went away. What was left? The actor's process. That was the only thing that survived the studio system. So we see wonderful performances on film and television all the time, but these are people who have lived on camera. This is why I say the best advice to being on camera is to live on camera. Put yourself there until you stop caring about the camera.
Exactly.
But it's the human quality, the aspect of the human being that says, how can I not care about being on camera? Everybody's looking at me.
Yeah.
So the studio system collapsed, and all that was left was a wonderful active process. And unfortunately, that happened at just the moment they were inventing special effects. So what used to drive audiences to the movie theaters a million years ago, before most of us were even born, was wonderful performances and good writing and good directing. And now it's special effects.
Right.
Special effects replaced what actors used to do, which was create these cinematic performances. Not just act a scene, but create a cinematic performance. So then the only way to learn it is to rise through the ranks. It's the only way to learn it is get experience and rise through the ranks and work with people who work on camera.
Right.
And one of the things that I think makes me unique and what I try to do is I look at what our favorite camera actors are doing every day and I can break it down.
Yeah.
And I have my own unique way of talking about it, and there's much more to it but I'm watching what they're doing and I'm breaking it down and saying to somebody who doesn't live in that world and doesn't rise through the ranks, if you just do this with your wonderful active process, you'll look like that. And then someone who's auditioning you will say, I have to have that.
Yeah.
My gosh, it looks like a movie already. Not that the work is done, but that's how the work begins.
Right.
Once you can create something that looks like it's a movie take, then the director wants to have a conversation with you. Then then you're in the world. You're a film artist. And everyone's going to come together and have ideas and talk story and character, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's always going to work as a film. So that's what I try to do. I try to break down what our favorite people are doing on camera and communicate it to people so they don't have to. They can look like they belong in, I think I can make them look like they belong in an A-list movie today.
Wow. All right.
And that's my art form.
Exactly. And that's what I admire so much about you, is that that's your gift, is,
It is. It is. And the reason I say I'm a communicator is I try to communicate to them how they can do it without me or anyone.
Right.
How you can do this on your own.
Yeah.
Not that you don't want to work with a director, but the director wants to put people in her or his movie that looks like they can take their wonderful ideas and make it look like a movie.
Right.
And so that's why the book is a playbook. It's a book you use, you don't read. All of my books, well, the first couple will be playbooks. I might get into more ideas later. But I try to break it down in such a way that I can give it to you. And I'm there to condition people, and the room I run is almost like people like to come and they like to stay there because it keeps them conditioned.
Yeah.
But I try to break it down so that they can do it all on their own. They can create a movie take without anybody. And if you can create a movie take without anybody, the people you want to work with will hire you.
There you go. That's literally, that summed it up right there. The people that you want to work with will hire you.
It's true.
It's awesome. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome.
It's always fun to have you in.
And thank you guys very much.
Okay, so I'm going to leave all of his links and social media links and your social media usernames. Good grief, I couldn't think of that. Down below. Make sure you follow him everywhere if you already aren't, because you put out a clever actor tip like every day, right?
Well, I was just talking about this in my classes today. Somebody said, "Oh, that was a really cool thing you posted, and it's great how you can just come up with them." And I said, "Just come up with them." The 3-hour class I taught yesterday was the shortest part of my day. The biggest part of my day is I'm writing this book. I'm actually writing several at a time. I can spend a long time writing a few sentences. I have a nice, small but growing and very passionate following on social media, and people actually, I think of it like it's a weekly publication.
Right.
Every day I publish something, but I publish every day. And my social media, there's nothing personal going on. You're not going to learn about my personal life at all. It's a way I can communicate cinematic power, cinematic thinking to the world. So every single day I publish something.
And it's always good. I love it. And sometimes sometimes it makes me like think, you know, and those are the ones I like, and I'll read it to Merrick and we'll discuss it, and you know, that's what it's for though.
It's to provoke.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely has insight and wisdom to it, if you will, but nothing's everything.
Right.
And anyone can argue anything. But I can at least provoke people.
Get a conversation
really
and think
about the camera and cinematic power.
Yeah. All right. Well, make sure you follow him. Make sure you follow me. Leave tons of comments and share this video all over the place. And most importantly, have an amazing week. I'll see you next week.
Have an amazing week. Bye.
Yeah?
I'm really excited.
I really am too.
And I'm very grateful because I've always wanted to be like a regular guest, if you will, on someone's show.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to the whole year, and I really appreciate it. It's really fun.
No, I appreciate it because you always have such great things to say. And a lot of the guests that come on, a lot of them I asked to be on, a lot of them asked me to be on. But how we met was kind of unique. I was, came across you on social media, and you just always had the coolest quotes, and I was stealing your quotes and putting them under my headshots. And finally I was like, I should tell this guy, like, he's really got cool quotes. And then we just kind of started talking, and you come on once in a while. And